Guys, the developer direct, we just saw 4 games, one of which was a surprise, 3 of them we knew ahead of time. And I think we have to start with Fable. I want to go to our resident Brit on the panel, MC Fixer, for the live British reaction to the very British Fable. Playground seemed to understand the assignment here. Fixer, what did you think of Fable? We've got plenty of time. We're going to talk all about this, so no rush. Just dig in. Let's go.
I'm honestly blown away. I think my expectations were extremely high for Fable, obviously. But to see it in action, it really blew me away. I kind of expected the world to be amazing. We've seen what Playground can do with a big world in Forza, but it always came down to combat and could they get the tone of what we love as Fable right?
Yeah.
And everything, and I mean everything that we saw today got the tone completely 100% correct. Babies, housing, combat system, world building, humor. Honestly, I said it while we were watching. I was like, wow. GTA is obviously a game that we're all extremely looking forward to. You see this and you're like, wow, this might be my most anticipated game for the year. Nah, definitely. Ridiculous. So ridiculous.
There's a reason that this is, for exactly the reasons you mentioned. The ceiling here is arguably higher than any game Xbox has in the upcoming portfolio. And yeah, I'm right there with you. I've got a lot to say about this. I actually had a chance to talk to Ralph Fulton, the game director and studio head that we saw there in the video. So I'll tell you all about that in a bit. But first, let me go to Miranda to get your reactions.
Just echoing Fixer, honestly, we all had high expectations. We've seen little bits, we've seen cinematics, but this is really what I was hoping to dig into. Like, get obvious, like, they had to do open world, right? Like, of course it's going to be open world, but like, what is the depth there? Like, what are we looking to do in this world where we've seen how they've done a great job with Forza, and whether we'll talk more about that, I guess, whether you're like big onto the racing and the sim side, or if you're more on like the goofy mini game side. Like, they've always had something there, but translating that into, you know, a big action RPG is quite different. And as we've all talked about previously too, the Fable as a franchise, and I think they even mentioned it in the showcase, we all have very specific kinds of memories, and those memories are varied. They're like, oh, and we're bringing back these enemies. And I'm like, honestly, I don't remember a single one of those, but I do remember getting married and having children and buying a house and becoming the hero, and my skin changing colors based on like, and my eyes and like growing horns or not, just like a little bit of horn, you know? So like, that's what I remember of Fable. Like, it's beyond just the combat, beyond the enemies you face. It's the storytelling of your life as the hero of Albion. And I love that they really dug into basically a whole town sim game. It is my memories of Fable 3, but ballooned with depth. And I mean, obviously it's just their demo of like what's to come potentially for us to play. Like, none of us have gone hands-on with it. We don't know how well this actually scales, but, you know, Playground's really earned our trust at this point.
Yeah.
So based on what they've shown, I'm so excited, and I really, really hope this comes out well before GTA, months before.
Well, all right, let's actually, we'll talk about that. Let's hold that thought. Let's get Michael's instant reaction to this first.
Oh man, well, folks may know me as the resident RPG nerd, and I look at this and I'm rubbing my hands like Birdman, dude. Yo, like we know what Fable is about. We know like its core principles make the franchise what it is. And this developer direct, they're very upfront about them understanding the legacy of Fable. You know, Ralph mentioned Lionhead. They're like, hey, we as developers of this new Fable, we, like Miranda said, all have core memories of the original Fables, and we understand what makes the franchise what it is. And then when they demonstrate that through the developer direct, it's the thing I'm constantly thinking about, and I mentioned this a lot with RPGs, is choice and consequence. And Fable was always made that kind of one of its key differentiators from other RPGs. And it's not just, you know, a morality system of like whether you do good or bad. You know, they talk about how morality is in this gray area and like in this particular fantasy world. And the reactiveness, the unpredictability of the choices that you make, I think that is what I am looking forward to most. Because, you play a lot of RPGs, especially in the past, 20 years, whatever, and you can kind of telegraph what the consequence of your choice may be. And that's perfectly fine, depending on what the game is going for. But when I look at Fable, I'm thinking I want to have to make decisions that I think might be right or true to myself in the moment. And the consequence I'll see later down the line, wherever that may lay. I don't want to be pulling up, sorry, Miranda, but this is not a game where I want to pull up a guide and min-max my choices. I just want to make what feels right and just see what happens later down the line. And Fable has always been pretty good about that. But from how they're talking about it, from what we've seen and what we expect from something of this scale and caliber, I'm going into this with even higher expectations for that role-playing experience. And, they showed a little bit about it with the town reacting to who you are, who you become, and, extending that through a full-length, however long this game may be, a full-length RPG. I'm going to be poking at this game a lot, and I cannot wait.
I'm so glad that you're all as over the moon about it. So like I mentioned at the top, I got to talk to Ralph Fulton about this. And as part of that, and this I'm not trying to flex, I'm just trying to set this up. I got to see the Fable portion of this early. So then I could talk to Ralph about it. And that story is that interview is probably up on IGN right now, thanks to our news director getting that published while I'm talking to all of you on the air here. And when I saw the presentation, you got to be professional, right? You've got the development, I'm sitting there watching it remotely with Ralph, and it's I don't want to get too high or too low, because you don't want to, it's you're trying to be professional. You don't want to fanboy out or just be oh my God, this looks horrible, which thankfully was not the case here at all. I came out of watching it for the first time, as you all just did, blown away. Totally blown away. I'm a massive Fable fan going back. I mean, I reviewed Fable 2 for Official Xbox Magazine. I even reviewed Fable The Journey, the semi-crappy Kinect game that they made for Xbox. I reviewed that for IGN. You can go find that review on IGN right now. But yeah, this game, what I really came away with was that Playground Games, and Miranda, you alluded to this with the fact that they brought up Lionhead, Playground seems to understand the assignment very clearly here. Mm-hmm. They are taking it seriously. They are going and examining everything that made the original 3 games awesome, and they are doubling down on that while bringing it to a next gen, a really Can we just stop and pivot for a second, talk about how gorgeous this game is?
Oh yeah,
Miranda, how? It's almost it's got the little bit of that almost Fable 1 or 2, because Fable 3 moved the timeline forward. Mm-hmm. I love the lighting, the landscape, the rolling hills. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah, I love too that they're not going necessarily for direct photorealism, even though everything does have a slant to it. I mean, it's the storybook thing, right? But it's not overly done. Yeah. So everything kind of just feels natural in this. And goodness, it's lush. That's what I think is most exciting for me, at least in this part. We've only seen, really just this sort of kind of lush, gardeny, overgrown forest area. And I'm really curious to see how it's going to translate to other places. I say that, but then I'm listen, I've played Horizon, I've played Forza, it's going to look great. That's what we know. It's going to look great. And I think that's what they're really showcasing here. And another thing I really love is the detail of everything. There's just little crates and barrels and candles and wall hangings and moss, and just everything feels so built out. This is a place that actually has people in it, And that's something I think sometimes with open world games you'll sort of miss, where it's just, I've seen that true before. But it's not because I've been here before. It's because I just saw it already, which makes sense, right? You can only do so much with assets, but you can definitely see how they're leveraging their abilities to really make a a deep world that feels alive, or at least looks alive, and implementing it here.
Yeah, Michael, on that note, talk about your reaction to the 1,000 plus NPC population.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing I wanted to talk about next, because you play a lot of open world games, or you play a lot of RPGs, and sometimes the worlds feel static, and that's fine. That it serves a certain direction that the game wants to have, or like the specific story it wants to tell. Going for a more free-form open world, or where townsfolks have names, they have personalities, and they individually react to who you are, is, it's, even to this day, it still feels like that's something that is too good to be true. Like, it's like, are you really going to do that? And like, games have tried it before, and like Fable as a franchise has tapped into that at certain points in their games. But I think to this scale, to this level of detail, I don't know how big Albion is going to be in this game, how far-reaching that is, and how deep are those character reactions going to be. But the idea of these characters having schedules, you're going to see them go to work, and you see them walking the streets. They're going to go out to restaurants and all that. It's these finer details that I'm a little skeptical about it working, but seeing it, they're actually showing it in actions, like this is like the logical extension of what Fable has always tried to be, and has been successfully in certain parts. And that kind of goes back to what I remember most about Fable, is that I do remember of it being a living world. Like, this is a place where, in some ways, it reminds me of the Yakuza franchise, where I can jump into the game, not even do a single main quest or even side quest, just exist in that world and enjoy my couple hours that I spent in it, and realize like, oh, I didn't progress the story at all. I was just living in that world. And I'm already watching this here and be like, oh, that's the kind of world that I want to live in. Something where it doesn't revolve around you. Like, your actions don't dictate every single part of it. Yes, you are the hero, you are the central character, but everyone else has lives, and you can see them living that life. I am actually excited about that part more than other things. And like, I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but an extension of that is how you influence the town, what you do with like the properties there, and how you build out that town, and all the systems that go into that are all feeding into this big loop of like, hey, Fable is going to be an actual like living world with all these NPCs. And like, the idea of that in a single player game, it's always been the dream, and I've had that dream fulfilled in other games before, but this feels like the most ambitious version of that.
Well, I can tell you that doing what we do, and just being gamers in the modern age, there's an inherent level of skepticism with some of these big claims, right? And so when I got to see this, and then I got to talk to Ralph, one of my questions for him was, well, are these 1,000 NPCs procedurally generated, and he said, no, they are all handcrafted.
Ooh.
So
wow.
Okay.
Everyone
that is
make
awesome.
20 NPCs.
Fixer, did you appreciate that at one point within the reputation portion that the very British term twat was used?
Yes, yeah. I think it's written all over this game, though. The Britishness, to be honest with you,
Yeah, it really is.
You can tell that it's made by the right people, and I think that's the most important thing about this game and about this franchise. If we were going to get a new Fable, it had to be done in the right way. It's down to like even things like the UI and things that I'm looking at, and I'm like, there's humor in that. The way certain things are popping up, tycoon, rich, you can imagine the amount of Britishness that's going to be all over this game, to be totally honest with you. Twat being one of the things, amongst many others, I'm sure. But yeah, I want to just touch on like the NPCs, like we're saying, like to come out and literally say we have 1,000 that you're going to be able to speak to, they have their own personalities, they have their own opinions on you, etc., etc. We don't hear many developers come out and say that. So the fact that they've come out and said it and shown a portion of it, of which we've seen, and obviously you asking the right questions because you're amazing at what you do, that is what has got me most excited about this entire game. I truly went in thinking, okay, they have to now combat. They have to now combat. They have to now combat. Playground haven't made a game with combat like this before, right? That's where I was like, okay, they have to now that. And then you look at everything else and you go, wait a minute, not that the combat's not important, because clearly it is and it looks fantastic, but there is so much more to Fable that I think even I forgot because it's been such a long time since I played probably 3, 2 being my favorite of the franchise. And you look at this and you're like, okay, yeah, it has all of the things in which I remember, but in a modern way, which we're seeing here today. But yeah, I'm truly blown away by it. It's one I can't even speak properly now. Like, I'm just blown away by what we've seen. I'm blown away by what we're going to get. And as long as they can keep that tone throughout from start to finish, it could be a very, very, very special game, to be honest with you.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, again, as I was saying earlier, I've felt for a long time that the ceiling on this is higher than any other game in Microsoft's portfolio right now. And based on this first real showing, they are on their way towards approaching that ceiling. I mean, they've certainly, like, Playground, they already had my trust, right? Because not only have they never made a bad game, they've made 5 Forza Horizons so far, and all of them have been, well, they started as 9 out of 10s, but the last 3 of them, 3, 4, and 5, are all 10 out of 10 video games. Forza Horizon 5 won IGN's 2021 Game of the Year. And so if they can, if anybody can pull this off with Fable, it's them. And I'm so over the moon. I want to circle back to, I think it was Michael, you were bringing up the size of the world. So I did ask Ralph about that. And he did say it is an open world. You can go anywhere. You can do anything you want. But like geographically, it's not as large. He didn't like give me a square kilometer number or anything like that, but it's not as large as a Forza Horizon map. Okay. But it's more dense, as you would hope and expect, because you're not just going through it at 150 miles an hour.
I don't have my Nissan GTR out there in Fable. I don't expect to have that. Maybe I'll get a horse or I could ride a chicken across there.
Yeah,
but I think for open world RPGs, I want to hear dense, not bigger. And I think that is music to my ears.
I think there's a balance there too, right? Like, I think about some of the Ubisoft games that I've played and just think about, like, man, or other games, honestly, that are open world. And it feels like you're going through this checklist of tasks because you have to, and not necessarily because they're thoughtfully put together or enhance your story experience. But then there's others that I can think of many examples too that do fulfill that need, where like there's the visual interest of just looking around a different biome or wherever it may be, finding yourself in this new place, and then maybe a handful of activities there. And that's usually enough. Like, you don't have to have everything, especially if it sounds like Albion's going to be kind of the focus as far as like town square sort of, well, I say this, but town square sort of area where you can manipulate and grow your town and get to know the NPCs. But that also sounds like it's going to be really big if there's like 1,000 NPCs. But I guess it'll be spread out too.
I loved that, because the last time they showed this was the original release window trailer, which of course they missed that release window. So that was, I believe it was Showcase 2024 in June of 24, that when they were saying it was going to be out in 25. And in that trailer, and maybe even, I think it was that trailer where we saw Dave, that NPC that was talked about here, as the giant. And we were like,
no, he's in the first trailer. He was in the first trailer,
Right, thank you. Yeah, it's like, oh, is this like a Jack and the Beanstalk thing? Like, and it turned out, no, that was sort of I'll call it maybe a little bit of clever bit of misdirection on Playground's part, just in since we didn't have the full context for it. And now we know it's a quest early in the game, and you can choose to, if you choose to kill Dave, his giant body will forever be like slumped over a hill in your game. So I got such a kick out of that. Miranda, are you gonna kill Dave and have giant Dave slumped over? Or are you gonna save Dave?
We'll see how Dave is in game.
Yeah.
I feel like I gotta get to know like the person. Like, what's your intention? Were you just really angry? Are you just on a little power trip? Oh, are you like good at heart? Do you deserve a second chance? I mean, I guess as the hero, I have the option to say, I don't know. We'll see. I will say though, as we've been watching this, the guides person in me, I'm just like charting all these things of like how we're going to cover it. And I'm like, oh man, we got to have this path and this thing and then account for all of this. And I'm honestly, whenever I have to do that for a game, I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
Let's circle back to I've got so much more to
I
bring
know.
up. Actually, on this point, something Ralph mentioned to me, which I'm sure comes across there, but I thought it was an important distinction that he made when I talked to him, is he said, well, it's not a fantasy action RPG, it's a fairy tale action RPG, which I think just speaks to, again, Playground understanding the assignment here, because that, like, I never really thought about it that way, but I think that's an excellent distinction for what separates Fable and what makes Fable unique versus the 1,000 other, plenty of them being excellent, fantasy action RPGs that are out there. And I thought that was a really cool thing to bring up about kind of it being a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of on that point too, I'm actually someone who reads a lot of fairy tale retellings books, like just different novels, different interpretations of these classic stories we have and how they can either be brought to modern day or otherwise. And I think there's like a sense of whimsy that carries through all of them. And then it is essential. Like it has to have that sort of like weirdness where things still feel oppressive, but never completely dour. And I think this has that, and I think Ryan, you pointing that out is so important too, because like this is just not like a regular fantasy. There's like this whole blanket over this thing, and you can see it too, right? Like I was admiring, why don't we have wood fences with like cute little curlies in it? And it's like, oh, because it's a lot of woodwork and takes a lot of time, and they can just draw it. I was like, yeah, that's true, my brain. But also that is very fairy tale of it. Like there's just so much here, and like I think one of the little details that we've seen so far in here, excuse me for like going on about this, but when they turn someone into a chicken and then they get kicked away and then they pop out of being a chicken because the spell is over and they're still like, bent over cawing basically, like that's just such a phenomenal little detail. Good. Like Ryan, when you said they understood the assignment, that is it. That is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Whimsical is my word. I use it in almost every review that I've written. But like I'm looking at this, like if I'm gonna write about this, sorry, I'm gonna drop whimsical multiple times. And I think that's important for having a quote fantasy world, fairy tale world in this case, that looks different, that is distinguishable from other fantasy worlds, and you immediately see it in the architecture, and that's kind of what we've known Fable to be as well. And it's good to see that visually that is still consistent in this new game. And sometimes you look at the landscapes and think like, oh, this is Forza Horizon, and then it cuts back to some of the architecture in the town. I'm like, oh no, but this is still that cartoonish but still photorealistic contrast that you have in the Fable world, and I love that about it. It almost reminds you, like, I feel like World of Warcraft is like one of the last standing games that still has like that cartoonish over exaggeration of some of its world building or some of its assets, and just looks like something that is different, that is not of this world. And Fable has that, and I'm glad that they have that. Walking through the town, you see how the houses are built, you see how the foliage kind of creeps into everything in and around the world. It looks distinguishable, and I think that is what has been missing from a lot of fantasy games that I've played.
Yeah, photorealism with like a slant, right? Like it's you see it, but it's like not quite because of just how stylistic it is. Ryan, do you mind if I bring up a quick point here?
Oh, please.
We don't know who the main antagonist is. Like, we don't know, the overarching story here, except for that you're the hero and your grandma was turned to stone when you were a child. And it's like, I kind of love that. I kind of love that we're already so excited not knowing, like, where this is gonna go.
Fixer, what's the over-under on the number of spouses and children you're going to have?
All right. Mate, look, let me tell you, everyone's getting married, everyone's having babies, and then everyone's getting evicted. That's how it goes in my household, all right? If you can't pay your bills, get to stepping, all right? You twat. There you go. For the Americans, I got you. Like, that's the magic of this game, right? You are the hero, you are the villain, you create the story. that's Fable. And I think coming into this, I feel like, at least in my circles, a lot of the conversation was, oh, it looks a little bit like The Witcher. Looks a little bit like The Witcher. This don't look like The Witcher. This looks like Fable. And I think that's probably the biggest compliment that you can give the game right now without playing it for ourselves from what we've seen is you can't compare it to anything else on the market because it's not like anything else on the market. It is Fable. And I will have many babies, as many as I want, okay? As many as I want.
chat clip that.
Yeah, and on that note, so it is Forza Tech. It is the same engine that Forza Horizon 6 is running on. But obviously with a lot of stuff done to it to make it an action RPG. On the note, I think one or two of you have brought up. Oh, I think Miranda, you were mentioning, maybe little horns are not a bad thing. Well, I can say I did ask about that as well, about the good and evil, and will that physically reflect on your character? The answer was no. So that will not be happening in this game. Ralph said they did talk about this in the presentation, and this could be one of the first things where people are either on board or maybe some people won't be on board with this, and I'll need to kind of play the game certainly, but it's where they talked about, well, morality is subjective and also relative. So like Ralph was telling me you could be in one town and be that slumlord like MC Fixer, and everybody hates you. But then you could go to another town where nobody knows who you are. And so you could be nice there if you want. So they're not doing the, horns growing out of your head as like a pure evil thing or a halo over your head if you're pure good. So that is one key difference that they're making from the core original trilogy of Fable. And then the other one, which again, once I watched the presentation, there was one four-legged animal in that presentation, but it was a horse. So I asked Ralph, Ralph, I didn't see a dog in there, so what's the deal? And he sort of half, with like a smile and sort of a half serious laugh, he said, well, there's a bunch. I made the decision to not do the dog, and some of the people on our team still haven't forgiven me for it. So, no dog in this one, which I will say, that does disappoint me. I'm not like prejudging the game, but Fable 2 for me is my favorite as well, and the dog was a big part of that. And I'm definitely, I would have loved to have had a dog in this game. So I hope it's going to be in the sequel, but yeah, I don't know how each of you feels. Let's go around the table to Mr. Hyam first on the absence of a canine companion.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about this whole direct, we do got a game with a very, very cute and big dog. So
we'll get to it.
Yeah.
One person, one dog.
Yeah, we're getting fulfilled in that regard. But I mean, okay. Since we're talking about animals. What do they have against chickens, man? Like kicking chickens? Yes, I get it. But you're fighting a big cockatrice. You're turning people into chickens, kicking them. It's like, hey, man, like relax. What's going on here? Yeah, I don't know. Like we'll see. Because I'm curious about how, do you develop relationships with like your horses? How do you maintain them? And that's how you're going to be navigating the world. And to what extent are you going to interact with the rest of the environment? Because, it's not just NPCs or the decisions you make about the story. It's like, your relationship with the environment. I think, those are also little details that I'm paying attention to.
Miranda, I know you're more of a cat person. Where do you land on this lack of a dog in the new Fable?
I also love dogs, but I definitely love cats more. But I love a good little fluffy companion. So I don't necessarily need a dog. If it were a mythical creature, that'd also be sick. If it were just a goose, that'd also be sick. But yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. But as you said, maybe if they do another, we'll get a little buddy.
Fixer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm upset by it. Like you said, Fable 2 being my favorite. But in the same breath, I think it allows them to really make Fable their own, Yeah. Like, there's already so many comparisons to Fable 2, Fable 3, Fable 1. Allow them to create what they want to create. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit disappointing for some of us who have come to appreciate a dog by our sides at every moment. But I think this allows them to create their story and what they want to do. But a sequel, just a companion. I would love a companion, definitely.
All right, we've got 3 other games to talk about, but there is one last key point on Fable that we should discuss, and that is the release window and the platform situation. What platforms it is releasing on. So we didn't get a date. It's still only January, but we did get a fall or autumn 2026, which Miranda almost certainly means before November for obvious reasons, right?
Yeah, you would hope so. If this were put in November, that would basically be putting it on the chopping block for no good reason. Simply because obviously that's GTA territory, and like other games that potentially might be coming out then that would potentially compete. So I think for all of our best interests as well, a late September would be sick, because that's also going to give us plenty of time to dig into Fable, play around, have a long, good adventure before moving on to GTA in November.
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that Microsoft and Playground have spent like 7-8 years on this so far, and obviously a lot of money to try and they obviously have franchise intentions here. They're not just making a one-off Fable reboot. They want this to do well enough for it to be a franchise again like it used to be. So yeah, you're not gonna put all that at risk by putting it out on in the first week of November. That would be the dumbest thing possible. So I think you're probably right. The question is, Miranda, as our resident Gears of War ultra fan, we have been assured that Gears is coming out. Gears E-Day is coming out this year as well, probably in the fall, though they haven't said. So what do you think? Do we go, is it like an August, September situation for one or the other? I mean, August is technically summer, and Fable did say fall, so where do you think they're going to land?
For me, I would want Fable in September. Let me get started on that. Then October, because it's kind of like that spooky time. Gears, because Gears still has that spooky vibe to it, so I think that would be perfect. And Gears tend to not be super long in their campaigns, so you could kind of knock that out while also playing Fable. And by the time November rolls in, you'll be okay. Also, I just want to say really quickly, I'm sad we didn't see Gears. I was hoping we were going to see it today, but we didn't. So
yeah, Michael made the good point last week that they weren't going to, that the spotlight belonged to Playground here. They opened this direct and they closed it. And yeah, I think it sounds like we'll probably have to wait till Showcase. And then I would imagine Gears will be the focal point for that. Mr. Hyam, what do you make of the release windows? Where do you think it's going to land? And the fact that this is multi-platform day one.
Yeah.
And their own other game that's coming out in May that we'll talk about isn't.
Yeah. So I know that they're doing PS5 release for Forza Horizon 6, and they're doing day one for Fable. So is it going to line up where Playground's gonna be like, hey, everyone who has a PS5, boom, 2 of our biggest games? That would be crazy. But it is kind of unexpected that it was day and date across with PS5 and with Xbox and PC and all that. I hope, I'm like with Miranda, I'm hoping late September. I hope that autumn means late September to give us time, because, GTA 6 is going to take over the world, whether you like it or not. And, there's Fable is, a different game, but they fulfill similar, I expect them to fill similar time restraints. Like these are big games that you kind of have to live in. You have a living, breathing world that's reactive that you're going to sink a lot of time into. When you boot up these games, you're going to sit down for at least 2-3 hours. These aren't the kinds of games that you jump in, play for like 30 minutes, and then get your fill. So these are like big commitments. These games are huge. So I would hope that they would be able to space these out. Again, development time, there are other factors that go into that as well. But I would hope early October, late September, give people time to get ahead of the GTA wave, because like once GTA 6 hits, that's all anyone's going to talk about for the foreseeable future for several months after it comes out. So I'm thinking that, and I would hope for that. But yeah, it's just really interesting that this would be a PS5 day and date game, just because, you know, not to be like, oh, it needs to come out on Xbox first. Like, no, that's not where I'm landing on it. It's just surprising because they haven't done that. Like Playground hasn't done that in the past. And I still feel like Forza Horizon 5 was their test bed to see how they can move games to PS5. And then eventually, like years down the line, then they would do day and date. So that's the surprising part. But I am happy that, you know, I'm on an Xbox podcast, but, you know, I'm probably going to play on PC just because, you know, I'm generally a PC gamer. But, you know, if this is running well on PS5 Pro, you know what I'm saying?
Fixer, what do you make of the release situation, the timing, and the multi-platform factor here?
Everything's an Xbox, guys. Everything's an Xbox.
PlayStation's an Xbox.
Everything's an Xbox, and that's what Xbox have told us. That's what Xbox have been presenting to us, and that's what I'm going to take them at their word. Once upon a time, this news would have come out, and I would have been very upset. I've been on this podcast talking about how upset I was when we started moving into multi-plat and games no longer being exclusives. I've matured in my 33 years now, and look, this game you said has been in development now 7-8 years, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They need to make money. They need to make money. Look at the industry at large. Look at what's going on in the industry. Closures. Companies need to make money. Developers need to make great games so we can keep supporting them. Really, we're at a point now where with Xbox, because of the way they have messaged everything's an Xbox, we don't care. Look, they want to put Fable out day and date, make their money back, and hopefully we get a sequel for the back of that. More power to them. I'm happy about it. As long as I get to experience this game in a complete fashion where there is no issues, there is no bugs, I'm happy. I'm fine.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to kind of what we've been talking about a little bit already, that this is a reboot of something that could be a major franchise and has been a major franchise. I mean, the joke always used to be Halo, Gears, Fable, Forza. That was the big four back in the 360 days. And so you're talking about something that Microsoft wants and needs to be revived as a big money making franchise, and the best first, you know, you want to have a huge launch because you want everybody talking about it, and the way to do that is to be on every platform. So in that sense, I'm not surprised that Fable is a day one PlayStation 5 game. Thanks for checking out this clip from Unlocked, IGN's weekly Xbox show. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to watch the full episode at youtube.com/IGN Games. New episodes of Unlocked drop every Thursday on IGN Games, IGN.com, and your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.